taking a moment. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Om Vishnu Padparamam Suprivraj Acharya Astotarasata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Nitai Gaur Premal. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Continue readings from Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, Chapter 10, Text 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Prada Uvacha. Mamam pralobhayat patya Saktam kameshu tairvarai Tad sangabhito nirvino Mumukshustvam upashrita Shiparada uvacha Mamam pralobhyat patya Shaktam kameshu tairvarai Tat sangabhito nirvino Mukshustvam upashrita Mamam pralobhyat patya Saktam kameshu tairvarai Tat sangabhito nirvino Mukshustvam upashrita. Prabhu Vacha. Prahlad Maharaj said to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ma, please do not. Mam me pralobhaya allure utpatya, because of my birth in a demoniac family. Shaktam, I am already attached. Kameshu, to material enjoyment. Tai, by all those. Varai, benedictions of material possessions. Tatsangabhita, being afraid of such material association. Nirvinaha, completely detached from material desires. Umukshuhu, desiring to be liberated from material conditions of life. Tvam, unto your lotus feet. Upashitaha, I have taken shelter. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation, Prahlad Maharaj said, My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because I was born in an atheistic family, I am naturally attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, kindly do not tempt me with these illusions. I am very much afraid of material conditions, and I desire to be liberated from materialistic life. It is for this reason that I have taken shelter of your lotus feet. Purport, materialistic life means attachment to the body and everything in relationship to the body. This attachment is based on lusty desires for sense gratification, specifically sexual enjoyment. Kamaistaistarhritaganaha. When one is too attached to material enjoyment, he is bereft of all knowledge. Hritagana. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, those who are attached to material enjoyment are mostly inclined to worship the demigods to procure various material opulences. They are especially attached to worship of the goddess Durga and Lord Shiva because this transcendental couple can offer their devotees all material opulence. Prahlad Maharaj, however, was detached from all material enjoyment. He therefore took shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nrsingadev and not the feet of any demigod. It is to be understood that if one really wants release from this material world, from the threefold miseries and from Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, birth, death, old age, and disease, one must take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for without the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot get release from materialistic life. Atheistic men are very much attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, if they get some opportunity to achieve more and more material enjoyment, they take it. Prahlad Maharaj, however, was very careful in this regard. Although born of a materialistic father, because he was a devotee, he had no material desires. Anyabhilashita shunyam. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kathamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubha Evacha Patitanan Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Ask for the blessings of all the devotees here. We want to thank again Subal Prabhu and Mother Krishnacharya for being here. Your presence is adding a lot to our program and our discussions, so thank you again. Prahlad Maharaj is here revealing his heart as a pure devotee. The devotee is naturally very reluctant to accept material benedictions, material facility, or any type of situation that may distract him from his devotional service. In this material world, the whole world is running on the paradigm that the more we acquire, the more we accumulate, the more satisfaction one will develop. And we see that in materialistic society is very prominent. Therefore, everyone is forgetful of Krishna. This is a qualification actually to take to the worship of the Lord. And Queen Kunti prays, Janmaishwarya Shrita Shribhir Etamada Madapuman Naivarham Madidatum Vai Tvam Makinchara Gocharam. That you're the property of those who are materially impoverished. So that doesn't just mean literally poor, but in consciousness. One whose mind is not puffed up or accumulating so much in the form of material prospects, material hopes for enjoyment. Basically the desire to remain in material existence. Unless this desire is rooted out, and in its place a very strong desire to forever terminate our association with this world. Even as devotees, we sometimes become comfortable. We think that this is natural, the process of sadhana bhakti. But the fact is this whole material, Prabhupada says the whole material world is inauspicious. There's nothing auspicious in us. Everything is actually inauspicious. So the deeper this conviction awakens in the heart, how, as Krishna says, this world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam, from the highest planet down to the lowest. Until we firmly grasp this point, then we will remain engaging in our practice of devotion, because we haven't really shown Krishna that we have that strong, burning desire to be back with Krishna. And that's actually, the Prabhupada describes, that's the price for actually becoming Krishna conscious. So the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam in these prayers is, Prahlad is showing us the type of consciousness that one has to have. He says, because I was born in an atheistic family, I was naturally attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, kindly do not tempt me with these illusions. I am very much afraid of material conditions, and I desire to be liberated from materialistic life. So this is this dridhavrata, the determination of the devotee, has to be to this extent. Otherwise, Maya will continually offer so many benedictions. We heard in the previous verse, Narada Muni explained, although Prahlad Maharaj was only a boy, when he heard the benedictions offered by Lord Nrsingadev, he considered them impediments on the path of devotional service. Thus he smiled very mildly and spoke as follows. So Krishna will offer us benediction. He'll offer us temptations. He'll offer us things. Are you satisfied? What are you really looking for? Are you satisfied with this situation? If I offer you a little bit of sense gratification or a little bit of material facility, fruitive desire, all these things are actually seeing where our heart is. Where is our heart really? And the more we avail ourselves to the association of the great souls in Srimad Bhagavatam, the more our heart and our desires become purified, and we desire nothing else. We have to make this determination that I'll settle for nothing less. I won't be satisfied in this material existence. And I was looking through this second canto, some very nice verses describing the same point here, because we see in this purport, Prabhupada explains, materialistic life means attachment to the body and everything in relationship to the body. This attachment is based on lusty desires for sense gratification, specifically sexual enjoyment. Kamaisthaistairhritta gyanaha. When one is too attached to material enjoyment, he is bereft of all knowledge. So we know Krishna explains this in Bhagavad Gita, Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam tayaparhritta chetasa vyavasayadmika buddhir samadho navadiyate. That when the mind is bewildered by this material opulence, a little bit of comfort, a little prestige, a little recognition, the resolute determination for devotional service does not take place. So that determination can't take place when the mind is being pampered by sense gratification. And that also has subtle connotations. So I'll read a purport here from this second chapter of the second canto, Describe the Lord in the Heart. It's describing the meditation on the Supreme Lord. The translation is, "The Lord's magnanimous pastimes and the glowing glancing of his smiling face are all indications of his extensive benedictions. One must therefore concentrate on this transcendental form of the Lord as long as the mind can be fixed on him by meditation." In the purport, the process of meditation recommended herein is Bhakti Yoga, or the process of devotional service after one is liberated from the material conditions. Bhakti Yoga includes Jnana Yoga, or in other words, the process of pure devotional service simultaneously serves the purpose of Jnana Yoga. Liberation from material conditions is automatically achieved by gradual development of pure devotional service. These effects of Bhakti Yoga are called anartha nivritti. Things which are artificially acquired gradually disappear along with the process of Bhakti Yoga. Meditation on the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, the first processional step, must show its effect by anartha nivritti. The grossest type of anartha which binds the conditioned soul in material existence is sex desire, and this sex desire gradually develops in union of the male and female. When the male and female are united, the sex desire is further aggravated by the accumulation of buildings, children, friends, relatives, and wealth. When all these are acquired, the conditioned soul becomes overwhelmed by such entanglements, and the false sense of egoism or the sense of myself and mine become prominent. And the sex desire expands to various political, social, altruistic, philanthropic, and many other unwanted engagements, resembling the foam of the sea waves, which become very prominent at one time and at the next moment vanish as quickly as a cloud in the sky. So we can see the effects of this material desire for enjoyment is that it further puts us into illusion, bewilderment. It saps the consciousness into so many ephemeral things, so many of the things that our mind gets caught on. They're simply here described as bubbles in the sea. They will quickly disappear. Later in the second canto, we hear how the bhakti yogi, or the yogi through his meditation, when he leaves his body and he enters through the Milky Way to purify himself for going back to Godhead, that his subtle body is radically purified actually. And the mind merges with the element of mind, the intelligence like that. So therefore all of these things that he has accumulated throughout his whole material existence, they become of no lasting value or permanent benefit. It's very quickly taken away. You can imagine leaving, what it entails, death, leaving the body. That means leaving everything that we've become so familiar with, so attached to. We can't take any of that when the notice is given, when we have to leave. The only thing we take is our relationship with Krishna. So it's continued here. The conditioned soul is encircled by such products, as well as products of sex desire. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga leads to gradual evaporation of the sex desire, which is summarized in 3 headings, namely profit, adoration, and distinction. All conditioned souls are mad after these different forms of sex desire. And one shall see for himself how much he has been freed from such material hankerings based primarily on the sex desire. As a person feels his hunger satisfied after eating each morsel of foodstuff, he must similarly be able to see the degree to which he has been freed from sex desire. The sex desire is diminished along with its various forms by the process of Bhakti Yoga, because Bhakti Yoga automatically, by the grace of the Lord, effectively results in knowledge and renunciation, even if the devotee is not materially very well educated. So the point here is this purification, it's not only in the gross form of sense gratification. Sometimes we consider that I'm following the 4 regulative principles, I'm chanting, so, I'm not engaging in sinful activity, my senses are somewhat under control, so I'm okay. But the real work is the subtle. We may not be engaging in illicit sex, but subtly, the process of anartha nivritti means continually purifying, analyzing very deeply the mind and its contents, and having to purify it from things, specifically here the desires for profit, adoration, and distinction. And this is that intoxication, this is the indulgence of sex desire in the mind. It intoxicates the mind, and it prevents it from fully calling out for the mercy of the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. Here Prahlad Maharaj says, Mumukshustvam upashrita. Therefore I've taken shelter. This is the reason I've taken shelter, because I'm trying to get free from these things. So we know in Krishna's pastimes, it's completely captivating. We're hearing the pastimes, but specifically, we understand these demons signify these various anarthas within the consciousness. So that is the role of the practitioner. He has to very carefully, water the creeper and check actually for weeds that can grow along with the creeper. Sometimes the watering process can simply nourish the weeds. So this is the subtle component which should not be overlooked. So, the position of the devotee we see in the lives of Lord Chaitanya, we're encouraged to be Rupanuga, followers of Rupa Goswami and Lord Chaitanya, to actually follow in their footsteps, ideally. So we see in their lives this spirit of detachment, of renunciation is very prominent. It said that the renunciation is this is the main quality sustaining the lives of the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Seeing this renunciation, the Lord Chaitanya becomes very pleased. So we've discussed how these intoxicants of material comfort, material enjoyment on the gross and subtle level obfuscate our ability to callingly take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. And carefully guarding ourselves from that, developing this more internally a more renounced disposition on guard against sense gratification in its gross and subtle forms. And we get so much inspiration in the lives of our Vaishnava Acharyas, the great Mahajans, the previous Mahajans. Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes the previous Mahajans are those before the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the later Mahajans, those after the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He mentions the conduct of those coming after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is superior. That conduct should be followed. So we're encouraged to not only just appreciate, in Lord Chaitanya's time, this was the conduct, but we're all meant to continually progress toward that standard. And we can see the extreme humility and dependence that the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had in this, what we're hearing here from Prahlad, his fear of materialistic life, fear of being entangled, fear of being tempted by these illusions. And we know the example, Srivas Thakur, when Lord Chaitanya was asking Srivas, I'm concerned about your home situation. What happens if no food comes and no one is taking care of your family? What will you do? And Srivas claps 3 times, And he said, what does this clapping mean? He says, the first day that Lord Krishna doesn't provide anything, I'll fast. The second day, I'll fast. The third time, my family will go and drown in the Ganga. And Lord Chaitanya prays, this is why you're so exalted. You have such dependence on the Lord, dependence on Krishna. And that is the primary principle for maintaining the determination to call out for the Lord's mercy, not being intoxicated by the hope for some type of materialistic aggrandizement of our situation or ameliorament of our circumstance. These things, as we described, they'll all unfortunately be taken at the time of death. But this position of being able to humbly call out, we can see Prahlad, he's so worried about material entanglement that he's always able to call out for the Lord's mercy. And that is what's being kind of described in this verse. And towards the end here, it's described how atheistic men are very attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, if they get some opportunity to achieve more and more material enjoyment, they take it. Prahlad Maharaj, however, was very careful in this regard. Although born of a materialistic father, because he was a devotee, he had no material desires. Anyas vilasita shunyam. So then the question, how does one get free from material desires? Desire is Prabhupada describes the concomitant factor of the living entity. If you're a jiva, you must have desire. So to try to artificially remove desire or just take out material desire, it doesn't work. It happens by being replaced with a spiritual desire. One has to cultivate a desire to serve Krishna. And when the degree of our desire for the association, the service of Krishna, awakens to that degree, our material desire goes down actually. So there's the positive and the negative process. We generally stress the negative because our minds are very much attracted to material enjoyment. But the positive process is the process of Shravanam and Kirtanam. And there's so many verses describing that. But by hearing and chanting, the attachment to Krishna can actually awaken. So we have to make sure we're taking both sides of the equation. We're equipping ourselves with knowledge, renunciation, but at the same time we're availing ourselves to the amazing wealth of knowledge that Srila Prabhupada has translated and given us. I was learning this one verse. Shrotavya dini rajan nirnam shanto sahasrasha apashyanti atma tattvam griheshu grihamedinam. That those who are not inquiring into this Atma Tattva, those who are blind to the Atma Tattva, they have so many subjects for discussion in human society. So unless our mind becomes interested in inquiring very deeply about these various aspects of the absolute truth, then there's so many things that will interest us, invite us into the realm of Maya is like an unlimited maze, and if we take a few steps in that direction, we very quickly get overcome and lost. And that's the nature. So we should avail ourselves to the mercy. Let me check one more here. Yeah, this is, so after describing that, Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari Shrotavya Kirtitavyas Cha Smartavyas Chechat Bhayam. That, O descendant of King Bharat, the one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the super soul, the controller and the savior of all miseries. So this is a positive application, and we have unlimited opportunities to do this on a daily basis. We have to make sure that we are getting attracted to Krishna. Krishna means all attractive. So we can only sustain on the negative platform of detachment for so long. Ultimately, we have to awaken a deeper spiritual attachment, which supplants material desires. The paramdrishta nivarte, they naturally become overcome. And one realization I was having yesterday was we were distributing books at the airport, and we see so many people, and because they're satisfied, they're happy, or they're seeking material happiness so strongly that they don't have this inquisitive spirit, they don't have this desire. And then on the other hand, we were coming through the train station, and just as a metaphor, I saw a man who was completely penniless. He was completely homeless, and he had his signs up. And so if you take that as a metaphor as far as the spirit internally of one who's really seeking the mercy, then when one has so many things and they're satisfied in the way their life is going, or very much desiring material progress, then they have no real need for Krishna consciousness. But on the other hand, when one has nothing, this is what's being described, materially impoverished. Not just materially. Again, we're talking, in the psychic being freed from these subtle material enjoyments also. How much easier it is for Krishna to give that person mercy when he sees that they've not taken shelter of other things. So we've taken shelter of so many things in this material world, which, as we described, are flickering and temporary, that we don't have any room to take shelter of Krishna. So we have to be careful of these allurements and be very introspective in our spiritual progress, continually taking inventory of our mind and our desires, and progressively, as Prahlad is saying here, take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet with this very humble, sincere desire to receive that mercy. Those are just a few thoughts for now. Maybe devotees can share some comments or questions, or I don't have so much realizations, but yeah, Subal Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. I appreciated very much your presentation, and also that part that you read of Srila Prabhupada's purport. And I was just thinking, one thing is to be tempted by material energy, by Maya. But then the other thing, which is something part of this pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj and Lord Nrsingadev, is that Krishna himself is giving that temptation. Mm-hmm. And then, translated it to ourselves down here. Devotional service also gives us all kinds of blessings when we perform it sincerely. So that part that you read, that Prabhupada equates, this profit, adoration, and distinction as a form of subtle sex desire, and how basically that can completely derail your capacity to you explained that very nicely. Completely derails your capacity to actually perform devotional service. So the fact is that Krishna he does that to us too. Mm-hmm. As we progress and become, the results of devotional service, Krishna gives facility. Mm-hmm. He empower us, and then the result of that empowerment can create very much this type of benediction, distinction, adoration, profit, like that. There's certain profit. There's some opulence that comes from the performance of devotional service, and that's something that sometimes is a great obstacle for us, who are trying to become devotees. But the wonderful thing is examples. Just seeing the example of Prahlad Maharaj, that whoa, my Lord, thank you so much, but please don't. So he's very careful about it, very much in guard. So especially that the opulence that we receive when the performance is there, especially adoration, people become very much obliged to your service, and especially when you're a preacher. And then what do you do with that? When do you do it? I mean, such a great responsibility, and if one becomes a little too comfortable with it, as you mentioned, it can completely derail. One have to understand that this is Krishna's energy. I'm just a humble, via media like that. So I just wanted to point out that.
Yeah, we hear this story many times, but Prabhupada says the difference is that you can fall down and I cannot. And then he's praying before the deities. He said, Prabhupada, what are you praying? He said, I'm praying that I never fall down. The devotee has to cultivate that, that continuous humble appeal for protection, even though he's so exalted. He's so dependent on Krishna. And that's such a lesson that even Prabhupada is praying like that. So how much more we should be praying like that? Whatever small thing, let this not distract me. A fragment from your determination, from calling out. And therefore also we hear that this humility is such a key and essential and the primary quality of the Vaishnava. That if he really, by Krishna's mercy is able to develop humility, That's the only solution. That's the only key to that, because Krishna will give that. And it's a society where we want to extol the glories of the Vaishnavas, serve the Vaishnavas. So humility is the only protection, the deep sense of humility. And that is, we should also pray for that.
That I think, just cultivating, especially, that the Shikshastika prayers that after Trinadapi Sunichinadin, next one is Nadananda Yananda Sundaring. So that type of, it's almost that type of mood we really have to, sort of drill it in our heads, because it's so entrenched in our condition. And so it's an important aspect, yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Anyone else want to share anything, ask any questions? Is this relevant at all? Any ways we can go deeper in these understandings?
Bhaktir bhakti adokshate. That's important word. That all the material miseries of living beings are superfluous. They can be easily removed by just performing devotional service. So straightforward.
Go.
Yeah, the miseries of the living beings are superfluous. They can be easily mitigated or easily can be subdued by just taking a simple process of devotional service.
Lokasya janito vidvams chakre sattvatasam. Therefore, Vyasadeva compiled this Srimad Bhagavatam. So yeah, we're spending so much time in the realm of illusion of these anarthas, which has nothing to do with it's superfluous to us. And that's difficult to grasp intellectually, but it has to be realized, through the process of bhakti, simply by the process of bhakti. That's where all the misery is that we're still identifying so deeply with our gross and subtle coverings. And therefore we're not able to experience the joy of the Spirit. There's so much absorption, like Nityananda Prabhu was saying in the past. I'm worried about so many things in the past, or so many things in the future. But these things have nothing to do with us. That's a very high realization, but yeah, that's a nice verse also. Okay, anything else? Jai, thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Let's not make us. Okay? Are you stressed about something?